And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Huba Rostonics. And Huba, well, first of all, Huba, thank you for spending some time and being my guest today.
Sure. Thanks for the invite, Michael. I'm glad to be here. I'm deeply honored. So
Well,
looking
you're
forward for this conversation, right?
good. I am too. He's got a great background. He's got a company called Thrive Monger, which I love the name of that. He's even got a definition of it on his website, so you can go check that out later. So, what he does is he helps organizations learn how to perform and transform, so they are a stronger, more profitable organization long term. And we're going to dive into what those two really mean for you as you listen to this. So. Huba, let's just dive into the conversation. Tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you are doing today?
Yeah, love the question, Michael. So first of all, my background is very eclectic, right? I'm born from Hungarian parents in the U.S., in Dallas of all places, and then they went to live in South America, so that's where I grew up. And back in the day, I graduated from college, whatever, and I started my own business, right? I had an engineering company. We would do, amazing projects for large industrial complexes. We would do, refurbish machinery, whatever, industrial automation, basically, right? And I learned about processes and things in that scenario, right? And then we decided to sell that company. We wanted to do something different, my partner and I. So we moved on. We sold the company. We did basically an employee buyout, and then I went into corporate, right? And in corporate, I spent 20 years seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And that's kind of like a cliche, but large corporations, they have amazing processes. That's why they are still around, basically, right? And they have some, incredible systems and things and best practices, but sometimes, they get too deep in that and dehumanize the employee to some extent, right?
Yeah.
So I learned both sides of that, right? The politics as well, which is terrible sometimes.
Yep.
And for the last few years, I've been doing consulting also for these larger companies in the specifics things that I learned how to do very well, right? But then I started seeing, hey, if I look back into the days when I was the business owner, right, and I was running a small operation, what are the things that I would need, right? And I realized that there were certain things that I could really bring to that table in that side, right? With everything that I learned in corporate America. So, but I also got looking into that, I also align myself with a framework. We call it System and Soul, which we can talk more broadly about
Yeah.
it, right? And I'm also, a very big fan of exponential organizations, right? And how that helps you to transform. So that's how I got here, right? It has been an evolution through being a business owner, being in corporate, consulting, and now, what I'm doing with small and medium businesses.
That's good.
Long
And,
answer.
well, it is, but it's good because it gives the background. And I find there are a lot of business coaches out there, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of them have graduated from some program and they have the certificate on the wall that says, I'm a
Right.
business coach, versus somebody like you who's actually been in the, who's done it. You've been a business owner, you've been in corporate, you understand, you bring to the table a different mindset than a lot of
Right.
coaches and consultants who are out there. Let's unpack this, helping organizations perform and transform, because those are kind of two different
Right.
aspects when you look at your website. Unpack that for our listener. And what does that really mean?
Well, the first thing is that, businesses, when you talk to small businesses, their biggest preoccupation is to be in business, next month.
Yeah.
That's it. Keep the lights on, right? Pay the rent, do payroll, all
Yeah.
those things that you have to do, right? So how do you do that better, right? How do you do that in a way where it's not a month to month thing, but it's something that brings some stability to your life, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the perform piece. And it all boils down, very simplistic idea. of having everybody who works in that smaller organization to pull their weight. That's what it is. So it's
Mm-hmm.
alignment of resources, alignment of purpose and destination, and being, you know, um, uh, being on the same page on what matters, right?
Yeah.
What are, and that's, to use a fancy word, that's the KPIs, right? The key
Yeah.
performance indicators that tell you that you're doing well or not, right? All those different things. So that's the system piece, right? Small businesses also to perform. I mean, at least when I had my small business, I know, usually are tight organizations, right? And we become friends, we become almost family, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be very clear also that we kind of like cater to the individual needs and desires of each person, right? Just like we do in a
Yeah.
family, right? So having a clarity of what are our values, our purpose, our destination, where are we going? What are the things that matter to us? What do we stand for? What are the habits that we perform? All those different things bring us together and build a great culture that propels organizations forward, makes them move forward.
Yeah.
So that's the perform piece, getting
Yeah.
everything together, get everything in line and put it together. But on the flip side also, we have, and you may, it's also a cliche, but we are in front of unprecedented change, right?
Mm.
Everything that is happening in the world, we have, I like to put it this way, you see these spots of innovation that come up, different technologies and different things, and you see what's happening in the world, how things are changing. There are at least 10 different technologies that are coming into maturity in the next 10 years. So that's what it's really different this time. It's not like, hey, we invented the automobile, or hey, we
Right.
invented the printing press. It's 10 different things all coming to maturity at the same time. And it's going to be an explosion of things. And so we have this scenario where we can either, look forward and say, okay, what's going to happen? Are we going to go into dysfunction, right? Or are we going to lose our livelihoods or whatever? Or are we facing a brilliant future, where we have to wear sunglasses because it's so bright, right?
Right.
So that's the transform piece, right? So,
Okay. So it's looking into the future and
right.
preparing ourselves, because in when I looked at your website and did some research, it was you're helping businesses perform, which is kind of more of today and the near future,
Right.
so that we can transform into the future. But through all of that is the culture. I love that you hit culture, because that's something that business owners forget about, and how critical that is. Because if you have a great culture,
Mm-hmm.
it helps with the purposes and the resources and the alignment. And so many times I found in corporate America, that's where it started crumbling, is the
Right.
culture kind of fell apart, and it became that us versus them mentality inside the walls, and it killed everything. And so
Yeah.
business owners need to understand, if you want a high performing company today, you've got to have alignment, purpose, values, culture, all of that. And these aren't signs on the wall. It's internal. And that's why I love the framework you use, that I want you to unpack a little bit. System and soul framework. When I
Right.
read that, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. Unpack that a little bit, and
Yeah.
how, what is that?
Yeah. So it's a framework, right? There's
Right?
many frameworks out there that pitch their own thing, right?
Sure.
And most of them concentrate on the system side. And
Yeah.
and and we have that as well. There's several coaches that align to the same framework, right?
Yeah.
So I'm one of them. So the system piece is this area where you have the design of the company, right? And that includes the who reports to whom, right? What do
Yeah.
each of us do? All these different things, right?
Yeah.
Then you have a piece where it's the KPI. So what really determines whether if we are going in the right direction? This is the
Mhm.
scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
Are we winning today or not, right? And then you have other pieces like your destination, where are you going, and also very important in a small business, and it's also part of the system, is the cadence. Small businesses, we have this thing where we don't do anything until the phone rings. That's a metaphor. It could be an email, right? But if someone is not pinging us from outside, we don't necessarily do work, in terms of forwarding our purpose, right? So the cadence is very important, where it brings in this drum beat that we get together regardless if a customer calls or there's any interaction. We get together, we do work every week or every day or every month or whatever we choose to do, right? So that's the systems piece, right? And that's about managing a company the right way.
Okay.
Then you got the soul piece, which is, okay, how do we propel this forward? And both things interact, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But the soul piece is more about the ethos, right? Who are we? What do we stand for? What are the things that are important for us? What are the habits that we perform? You hear this great culture, organizations with a great culture that, we have this thing. We get together on Mondays, or, you hear this thing. So those are the habits that create the culture. But then you also have the destination. What is our ultimate purpose?
Yeah.
What is what we are really trying to do? Are we helping? So in my case, for example, I'm trying to impact the people who work for these organizations, right? I'm trying to impact at least 1 million people in the next five years, right? Who are people who work for smaller organizations, right? What is what we are trying to do? So that brings together the two pieces, right? The system and the soul. Now, think about it this way for 1 second. If we talk a lot about, in the frameworks world, we talk a lot about processes, right? Processes are great because they allow you to repeat things and don't think too much, about things, and make it repeatable. It's like, but a process is always basically, if this happens, then do that, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? To be able to say that, you have to have seen that if this happens, that piece. You have to have seen that, right? So what happens when something happens that you haven't seen before? Right? Basically, what happens is we ping the owner or the founder or the boss, right? And we just call the boss. What do I do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the idea of having a strong culture and having a strong destination and a strong set of values is that those actually drive decisions in the absence of the boss.
Right.
So now everybody can make a decision that it's in tune with our destination, with where we are going, with our common objectives, without having to lift the phone and, trying to track down the boss who is actually on vacation, on a 3-month vacation in Alaska or whatever, right? So that's the important piece on how these two things interplay, and they are not just this woo-woo thing about feeling right and having a great place to work and having fun, but it's actually about a high-performing organization. Does that make sense?
It does. It really does. I'm glad you kind of unpack that, because, and I love it on the system side. The word you used at the very end was cadence. And I love that, because there's a rhythm to business, and different businesses have a different rhythm, right? And you've got to understand. And what I find, a lot of business owners, they're playing to the beat of a different drum. Meaning they're looking at all of the 7, 8-figure, 10-figure businesses, and they're like, I want to be like them. But that's not your culture. That's not your vibe. And it causes
dissonance,
dissonance, discord, and there's no harmony. And it's really, I think, it's a teaching. It's a communication that really needs to come to the forefront of our cadence, to go find your cadence, and own your cadence, and make beautiful music with your cadence and your values, and you'll attract the right team members and the right customers, because you're being who you are. You're being true to your values, right? Is that what you find?
True. Yes, exactly. So one thing, Michael, that I don't say it very often, but I'm a drummer. So, so I know a little bit about this, right? But it's that cadence, that makes you dance to that tune, right? It's everybody's dancing together, when you go to a place where there's something happening, right? Everybody is at that same rhythm. You don't have to communicate anything else, right? But it's also this thing about if you have a clear set of values and you're communicating them, this is super important, right? It's not like you have a set of values and you put it on a plaque on a wall, right? And or you have them on a binder somewhere, tucked away. The thing with values is you have to live them out. You have to live them out. And also, if you have this very clear understanding of what's your destination, your purpose, use that, right? Communicate it often. And when you have conversations with your clients, you communicate this, right? When you have conversations with prospective employees, you communicate it, right? So that you get, what happens is that people self-select.
Yeah.
Right? It's like people who want to work with you, for example, you will not have to go out and search for a lot of people, but they are like, hey, I want to work for you. I really like your purpose, right?
Yeah.
I want to be part of that. And customers are like, well, there's nothing worse than a bad customer.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's in the beginning, you get that PO, that order, right? And you're happy, but then it starts causing all these kinds of problems, right? Because there's misalignment. Right?
It's really fascinating what you're saying here. And I've got a different analogy that I'm just going to throw out because you're a drummer and all that. So one of my favorite cities to visit is Nashville, Tennessee. I love to walk downtown Nashville at night because they have all of the bars open. All the windows are open. You can walk along the street and go from bar to bar to bar and hear from jazz music to country music to rock and roll to you name it. And you get to self-identify. Oh, I don't like that one. Oh, that's my tribe. Those are my people.
There you go.
And that's exactly what happens in business when we live out our vision, when we live out our values. You have to communicate them. And when you communicate them, again, you attract the right team members, you attract the right clients, and your culture is a lot healthier and everybody's going in the same direction. So I really love what you're talking about here because there are so many analogies and ways to understand that people get. Going on a car, going down car dealer row, right?
Yep.
Are you a Honda guy, a Toyota guy, a Jeep guy, a Acura guy? I don't know, but one of those is going to resonate with you, and you're going to stop and look around. And that's the same thing that happens in business. And that's how you help businesses start to perform today, but actually transform into the future because it comes around, the systems and the KPIs and all that, but it's this heartbeat, this culture that really is the lifeblood of all of it. If I'm getting what you're putting down here, that's kind of everything pulls together. Is that a fair summary?
It is perfect, right? Actually, and there's this thing also about, we many times we think that we are in business, right? We are trying to survive basically, right? So we are like, okay, well, I'll just take anything that comes through the door, right? If they have a check, I'll take it, right? And it's like, but that doesn't have to prevent you from setting a direction and knowing which way are you going. And to draw another analogy, if you have been ever on a sailboat, you have all these complicated things, have the two sails and the whatever, but what you do is you set the direction that you want to go in. Doesn't matter where the wind is coming from. Doesn't matter. You say, this is where I want to go. Then you adjust the sails.
Okay.
So the ship is pointing in the direction that you want to go. And now you figure out where the wind is coming and you adjust your sails to that so that it takes you there, right? So it's that intentionality of, hey, here's what I really want to do. Drives everything else. Right?
I love it. I love it. Okay. You and I, Huba, could talk for a long time because this you kind of hit a hot button and you've unpacked some things. But I think probably the best thing to do is let my audience know where to find you because you are an intriguing guy because of the way you think. I love your drumming aspect, but I love what we've been talking about here about that cadence and putting together the performance, the transformation, the systems, the people, the culture, all of that, because not everybody talks about that. When you talk about, well, I'm a business consultant, whatever. Well, no, this is exciting. So I want my audience to know, where can they go to find you, to learn more, to engage with you at some level? What's the best next step for them?
Thanks for that question. So the best way to find me is to look up. By the way, my website is called Thrivemonger. You know, I figured I was always talking about thriving instead of surviving, right?
Yeah,
And I said, well, I'm not a fear monger, I'm a thrive monger.
I
So look
like
it
it.
up, thrivemonger.com, right? That's the best
Yep.
place to find me.
Yeah,
But if you Google my name or you go to LinkedIn and Google, you know, Huba, Huba, Hubas out there. So I'll come up on there. So LinkedIn or thrivemonger.com, right? Those
excellent.
are the
Well,
two best places.
I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna put those in the show notes because this has been a fantastic conversation, Huba, and I appreciate what you put together here, using your background and everything, but
Yeah.
helping business owners really understand. It is. I mean, yes, you got to have your KPIs, you got to have all that stuff, but that becomes sometimes stale and stagnant, and we have to have the culture there at the same time, and one serves the other to help us perform better today and lean into the future and
Right.
have that vision for the future, so we're ready, we're prepared, so that we have businesses that impact more people. You're trying to impact 1 million people. Business owners need to have that vision of impacting their family, their teammates, their community, their world, and I think you help them do that. So thank you. Thanks for
Awesome.
putting
If you
together.
allow me to throw in one more thing,
Sure.
Michael, and is that there is a free assessment on my website where you
Mhm.
can kind of like go through it, and it will tell you, you know, where are the things that you should do or that you could do right now for the biggest impact, right? So
Okay.
it's right there. You just go to thrivemonger.com. It's going to be on the first page. You know, you're going to find it. It's a free assessment. Take it. It will tell you, you know, where are you on these 6 dimensions, you know, of system and so on. All right.
Awesome. That's on his website, thrivemonger.com. Check him out, have the conversation, and see how he can help you build a business that's better performing today so that you can transform into the future. Huba, thank you for being my guest on Experts Speak.
Thank you, Michael.